Salam to barakatuh. Not Medina University, no. My local masjids. Are you able to pin the comment from your one? I've done it. Ameen wa iyaakum. Sorry. Should we start now? Start? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wa mursaleen amma ba'd. So inshallah ta'ala, for background, why we're having this gathering, in one of our classes during the week, we have had some informal discussions related to marriage and divorce. So there was a suggestion of the book that one should read that I think you went through today. And then inshallah, to have an informal opportunity to just have a discussion, questions and answers, inshallah ta'ala, as it's a need. There's a need for it. You have, for example, many sisters who are reverts who don't have a wali, for example. They need aid and guidance. Or you have those who have non-practicing Muslim families. They would need a wali and guidance kind of thing. So there's the opportunity to people ask questions, and feel free to ask questions, to have an informal discussion regarding, obviously, the topic of marriage and divorce, as we know, is a hot topic. But at the same time, there's guidelines from Islam, and also we need to be any kind of aware of what is ahead of us in seeking marriage, because it's not something small. Rather, it's a big step that a person takes in life, and they have to be ready from all aspects, kind of thing. So you can either ask questions directly, or if you don't want to, you can type via the live, inshallah, and I'll answer bi'idhnillah ta'ala that which I can. And whichever I can't answer, then inshallah ta'ala, if you can write those questions down with the sisters from the sisters circle, and we'll try to facilitate an opportunity to respond to them, inshallah ta'ala. So if anyone has any questions, inshallah, no.
My first question is, does a girl's father remain her wali in spite of their absence? Secondly, if he's still my wali, I know that asking him to give me away would break my mother's heart, and would like advice on whether I would appoint someone else. I have 2 maternal uncles, and instead of taking my brother, I look forward to back.
So, alhamdulillah, one thing that you have to understand, Islam is not built upon emotion. So the emotional damage that comes with it, we don't take that into consideration. We deal with what is the sharia. So the father is the wali. If he's absent in the life of the daughter, and he gives permission for, let's say, the maternal uncles are more actively involved in her life, she is to seek permission from him if he can be the wali, if they can be the wali. But that's the right of the father. And the right of the father of a wali is only taken with a justified reason. And if anyone just says, yes, I take it away from them, then again, I would stay away from the likes of those imams as such, because it's not something that is that delicate and easy. There's a process. Rather, what should be done, if the imam can contact the father and speak to him and offer him advice. And also, sometimes the father will be more likely to entrust that responsibility to the imam who does that, rather than the maternal uncle. They have also that kind of choice and that decision. So it's not something to be taken lightly, because the Prophet said, "La nikah illa bi wali." There's no marriage except with the presence of a wali. So she should reach out to him and say, obviously, we don't have a relationship. I ask Allah to rectify that one day. But I'm at a stage in life where I'm seeking to get married. And if you're unable to actively play that role for me, would you be willing, for the sake of Allah, not for my sake, say for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, to give it to someone from the mother side of the family, inshallah? Okay, yeah, I'll repeat the question. So the question was, someone who has a father who was basically absent in their life, in summary, and he is obviously still alive. Can the waliship be given from him to someone else, i.e. to the maternal uncle? Because if he was to play the role, it will also have an impact on the mother. Someone's asked here, I have a relative who has cancer. Is it permissible for her to use cannabis oil for treatment? Naam. Yes, it is, inshallah. No problem. Any other questions? Do you know? Sorry, do you know about inheritance? Or we're not talking about inheritance. That's something else. Look at the title, please, of the pinned comment. I'm not talking about inheritance. Pinned comment is what we're talking about, please. Sorry. Yeah. As long as they're mature and will be considered to be of those who are looking to the best interest of the sister. Is it permissible for women to take photos of them beautified without hijab at female wedding parties? I would avoid it. Because you have in wedding parties those who are righteous and those who are not righteous. Those who don't feel any shame to put it on Snapchat and on other places of social media. Those who will show their male relatives and the like. So me personally, I would avoid it. And that's, yeah, if a person was to take pictures at a wedding that's with beautified, that make sure if you are taking pictures, it's only with your close circle that you can trust, that you all fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I would not do it personally. I would avoid it. How comfortable can you be in marriage meetings without crossing the boundaries? Just be normal. As the marriage meetings what is the purpose of marriage meetings? To just see. The main thing that you look at for when you're going to get married to a person is their religion. Part of religion is character. Compatibility, that's something you're going to discover over a lifetime. Because some people, they got married, they thought they were compatible, they did the whole process of meeting to seek compatibility. Once they lived with each other, they realized they were absolutely not compatible. Over years, some people were compatible, but some people change. Allah changes the hearts. So a person always asks her to make their heart firmly upon the religion. Because if a person's heart changes towards a way that's displeasing to Allah, or immediately you become incompatible. Immediately. So when it comes to marriage meetings, a person, the objective is to determine, is this someone who is righteous, who fears Allah, that you can visualize yourself being married to, and there'll be a father, a husband. That's the whole objective. Because the reality is, everyone is, it's like applying for a job. So they're going to show you the best part of themselves. Like you, when you go to a job interview, you give your CV, it's only the best parts of you. You don't talk about your weaknesses. That's the same thing when a person having meetings. So you can be comfortable, just be yourself. The boundaries in that which is obviously it's known, and the customs, and this is not befitting. These conversations is a bit out of line. You avoid all of that. What's the best way to pursue marriage or seek a spouse? Ask Allah first and foremost. Make dua. Allah will guide you to the avenues. Speak to local imams. Make sure you're someone who is upright, that someone would actually consider to, like me as the imam of the masjid, if a brother comes to me or a sister comes to me, they're not practicing, I'm not going to help you. That's just the reality. If you're not practicing Islam, I cannot vouch for you. Because that's the first role that I have. If I'm going to recommend someone, the reality is I'm only going to try and recommend someone who is practicing. Otherwise, I have to tell that person, well, they're not really practicing Islam. Or they don't pray, or they don't cover, or this person listens to music still, or this person does this still. I have to tell what it is. Because that's the whole part of playing the role of being a referee. Someone comes to you to ask you about someone, they're asking you about their character. Is allowed to backbite in that situation. That is a permissible situation to talk about a person. So, yeah, you ask, and if you have sisters as family members, ask them to help you. Can you have marriage meetings with more than one person at the same time? I wouldn't do it. I would not recommend it at all. And that's sufficient from myself on that one. What does a wife do in regards to a husband who is not that practicing or seeking knowledge? Try and encourage him, make dua for him. And if you find that that is affecting your compatibility, seek to have counseling. Seek to have marital counseling where there can be a third party who makes that message become clearer, inshallah. Now. Oh, yeah. They're intoxicated. Allahu A'lam. Naam, Allahu A'lam. Personally, if the Imam, if the Wali was intoxicated, he shouldn't have been the Wali in the first place. As for the marriage being, I need to go back to some. I'll write that down and I'll go back to one of the Mashaykh and I'll ask them, inshallah. Naam.
Is it permissible to use pre-recorded stuff in the sheets that have men singing in it at sisters only bridal events? The sheets are about nikah kind of like.
I'm gonna tweak this question a bit because sometimes they mean something else, and I am aware of what they can sometimes be meaning. I'm not saying that one who's asking this intends that, but sometimes I found the music that I listen to in Jahiliyyah is being remixed Islamically, quote unquote Islamically. You got the Fugees and all this rubbish. There's a duff version that does not make it halal. To remix songs with a voice and a duff does not make it halal. That is important to understand. If it's imitating the songs and the music, it's haram, it's music. That's the reality. Now, even if a person's only using their voice, but you're making the same sounds as musical instruments, this is also haram. Some people that have certain skills, they can make the sounds of musical instruments with their voice without playing a musical instrument. That does not make it halal. A person can literally make the sounds of a piano or a guitar, all these things. This is not to be done. And also of the things that's to be known, we are not to imitate the kuffar. Because sometimes when they play this stuff, the sisters start dancing just like the kuffar. This is to be avoided also. This is also to be avoided. So when it comes to the duff, then it's better that someone can play the duff kind of thing, because also you can't, sometimes the thing that they say is a duff recording, they record the duff sound and then they remix it on a computer program. I would say the safest option is to avoid it. The safest option is to avoid it. And it's a hadith, da' ma yaribuk ila ma la yaribuk. Leave what causes you doubt for that which does not cause you doubt. One asks, if the father's not present in the daughter's life, can a brother take over the role without his permission? No, needs his permission. Needs his permission. What are the qualities of a good spouse? Islam, salah, Quran, naam. The best example is the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Someone's trying to be like them, that's the best example of a spouse. Someone's trying to be like the wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best example of a wife. So I just saw the request, I just accepted now. Is it possible for something that started haram to become halal? Yes. by stopping the haram side of it and then making it halal. Khalas. Someone contacted me recently. I had a relationship with a sister. We weren't practicing, both of them. We started practicing. We literally stopped talking. Now he wants to get married. Then get married. Khalas. No problem. Don't go back to having a relationship. That's haram. You see? There's no problem in that. Advice for marriage outside the culture and parents refusing to get you married to someone not of culture. If they're refusing practicing brothers who fear Allah, then you need to contact a body like the Sharia Council or something to contact your parents. Because if they serve as an obstacle of you marrying someone who's practicing, then they may not be befitting to be the wali, and it can be removed from them. But it goes for a process. Naam. But because sometimes they would rather that you marry someone from the same country, same culture, but they don't practice. Hada la yajuz. This is not permissible. And it shows that a parent does not want good for their daughter. If you're willing for them to marry someone who's from the same country but does not practice Islam, this is not the role of the wali. The wali is not actively fulfilling their responsibility. So if you're not able to speak to them, then get someone like the Imam or someone to speak to them, inshallah. But the marriage, the culture, where your country comes from, that's the last thing that you need to look into. Because if we're looking at the reality of the West where we are now, the generations of the youth that are seeking marriage, they don't hold the culture. They only have aspects of it. So they don't maintain that culture. They've become westernized, unfortunately. You see? Or they are not attached to the ways of their parents, because sometimes the cultures come with practices that are not from the sunnah. So they end up distancing themselves from it in totality, based on the circumstance. So when it comes to culture, we're at a time when that becomes a question mark. Even your daughter, do they maintain your culture? No. So, and sometimes the cultural aspect come with other things, like you have to live with your in-laws, you have to serve your in-laws. The wife does not have to serve any in-laws. She's not obliged to serve any in-laws. The wife-to-be is also allowed to refuse the family saying you have to marry your uncle or your cousin. She can refuse. Even if they say to you, we're not going to talk to you, say, cool, don't talk to me. That's not my problem. But you're not obliged to please family by marrying older relatives because you want to keep it in-house. La, you don't have to do that. You're allowed to refuse, you're allowed to say no. And that's like the arranged marriages. And that's also a big cultural issue that we have today. No.
How do you differentiate between your nasib and a test and a hard marriage?
How do you differentiate what?
Between your nasib and
Nasib. Nasib means portion. Or do you mean that which is written for you?
Yeah.
What is meant by nasib? That which is written for you. Whether it's a test, nasib is still written for you. The reality of when you go through things in marriage, if they bring you closer to Allah, it's a test. If it brings you further away from Allah, it may be a means of punishment. And it may be because of sin. It may be because of sin. The first thing that one should do is to look at yourself. Are you a cause of the possibility of this going wrong in that situation? Also, of the things that's very important when it comes to preserving your marriage is adhkar. You have to remember your adhkar. You have to make Quran a daily part of your life. These are the things that are going to protect you. Because it's very easy to say it's ayn, it's hasad, it's this, but if you're not taking the means of protection, you have yourself to blame. You have yourself to blame. But regardless, when you find yourself in a situation, you turn to Allah. You ask Allah to relieve you from that situation. As Allah mentions, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever fears Allah with taqwa, Allah makes for that person a way out. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And will provide for them from avenues they could not imagine. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever truly relies upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just saying it, you have to truly take the means that you're depending upon Allah. They will find that Allah is sufficient for them. Allah will suffice that person. Sorry, 1 second. Is it permissible to ask for a divorce from your husband if he constantly cheats on you with a non-Muslim? It's more than permissible. You need to hasten to get that marriage severed. So go and contact the wali that did it and get yourself removed from that marriage. As long as you have proof as well. What should you do if the father rejects a good man based on culture? Just say, alhamdulillah, it wasn't for you. And that's why get the wali involved from the beginning, to save yourself the disappointment. If the brother is not trying to get the wali involved from the beginning, that's a red flag. Okay? Try to have the wali involved from the get-go, so you save yourself that disappointment when it comes to different culture especially. You see? Because a person tries to build a relationship and then say, I'm going to go to my father. That causes more problems than anything else. No.
Does the process of divorce also include the wali?
Not always, no. No. Because the husband just says it. You see? It doesn't include the wali. However, the wali can be involved as a means of trying to reconcile. No. Especially the situation when the wali is like an imam or something, or someone who's been entrusted to play the role of the wali. Because in a Muslim country, if you don't have a father, it goes to the judicial system, and they will appoint someone to be the wali. Be very careful of people that say, don't worry, my friend can do it. Especially the nikah as well. Before I became the imam, I remember a brother called me once, and this was 11 o'clock at night. After Tarawih, he said, Akhi, I got 2 witnesses and the wali, can you do nikah? I said, are you mocking me? Are you really disrespecting me? Basically, why don't you ask the imam? They wouldn't have the audacity to ask the imam that question. This isn't no takeaway. The drive-through nikah, it doesn't work like that. You see? So if you find people that want to give you these options, again, stay away from them. Stay away from them. What are the etiquettes of being a good leader from a man's perspective? Just follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's the best example. The reality is we have the best example, but we continue to stray away from it. That's the reality. Now,
If you're looking to get married and you don't have a dad and brother, then you get somebody like a family friend who's trusted.
yeah. A local imam, a family friend that's trusted. If you don't have no male family members, that's no problem. That is no problem. Now. Or sometimes like your close friend's husband, if he's a trustworthy person as well, they can act as your guardian. But the reality is this, watch, when someone's a guardian, it's not no friendly relationship. Don't think you can be on the phone to that person just talking for the sake of it. La. Nor do they have to get to know you like that either. They don't need to get to know you. They don't need to befriend you. They don't need to do any of this. It's serving a responsibility. They may have personal conditions. You see? For example, a person may say, okay, cool, I'll be your wali, but I may have a way that I do it. I don't give up my number to no one. If someone is interested, come to me and I'll do my job. If you want me to do my job properly, I'll do my job. I.e., I will do the background checks and the likes and I'll get back to you. But as for just dishing out my number, I might say, no, don't do that. There may be certain conditions that person will give in order for them to act as your wali. Then you make a choice. Is this something I can work with or not? You see? And in that situation, one thing that's also need to be known, when a person acts as the wali that's not from your family, they're called your wakil. But we still say wali because some people, they're unfamiliar with the term wakil. Wakil means the one who's been entrusted with that responsibility. Yeah? So they're not your wali, the wali is from the family. But they're your wakil. And as soon as you get married, that's it, khalas, the relationship comes to an end. Unlike the wali, the father, they're always going to be there. But as for the wakil, the local imam, if they're still contacting you after you get married, how's things going? This is not correct. This is not correct. They shouldn't be doing this. They're too comfortable. One question on the YouTube. What advice to give to a sister who feels a lot of pain when being into the husband due to fear, which causes the body to tighten up? Or there's some sisters that I've seen previously that they do counseling based on this. So try and I don't know who they are, but try and find the sisters that talk about personal matters to do with intimacy for women during marriage, because there is a condition that is known, but I'm not knowledgeable to talk about that at all. No.
How to know the difference between a healthy, normal argument or an argument that is a sign of incompatibility, and that you should get a divorce in a newly married couple?
In a newly married couple, you're going to argue. And sometimes you're not going to argue. It depends. What's the topic of argument? How did the argument end? If you have an argument but no solution, then this is not good. Because in the new days, it's easy to bury things underneath the carpet. But then if things carry on for a long period of time, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. Okay? Just a general reminder, inshallah. If we are able, when it comes to eating and drinking, make sure we use the right hand. Inshallah. But yeah, so again, it depends on the argument, the consequence of the argument, what happens after. Okay? This is very important.
How to know challenges in marriages that you should be patient with and challenges that are unjust and are grounds for divorce?
Anything that's displeasing to Allah is unjust. Sorry, quick before this slips me. When you have a wakil, yes, you can stay in touch when there's problems that arise, but I mean the wakil shouldn't be contacting you for no reason after you're married, once they've done their duty. Unless the husband gives permission to that. So when it comes to matters where it's like unjust, oppression, these things are known. Okay? For example, if a sister was told you're not allowed to leave West Croydon at all, this is a problem. This is imprisonment. Sometimes you have some brothers who they've been through their own things because of their own jahiliyyah and the likes, but it doesn't mean it has to affect the wife. Or for example, every time a sister is invited to a walima, aqiqah, whatever it is, a marriage, she's always told you can't go. But we know there's an obligation in answering the invitation. But they'll say, no, you can never go. And there's no justified reasoning behind this. These are situations that things get looked into. Prior to seeking a divorce, because for example, the issue that we have now, let's say the person's never had any marital experience before, or relationship experience, or never witnessed it. They themselves don't even know what they're doing. That's the reality as well. They are still trying to figure it out. So when they're going through that process of still trying to figure it out, they're getting it wrong. They're making mistakes. So then maybe they need a third party to sit with both of them to make things clear they understand. You see? But if you feel that you're being oppressed or being dealt with unjustly, speak about the issue. The reaction in trying to have a conversation will also determine the situation that you're in. The reaction you get when trying to erase your concerns of your marriage will also determine the reality of the situation that you are in. So that's also something to be aware of. What if the finance of the potential husband is a barrier to marriage? The finance, where does rizq come from? This is the most important thing to understand. Finance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a difference between a brother who says to you, I need you to be my Khadija so I can seek knowledge. That's a red flag. There's a difference between a brother who's trying their best to find work and they're not being successful. And they're trying to stay away from haram. They're trying to work in an environment that is strictly halal. Yeah. Is it nice? You see, then you can be patient upon this. And you never know. The marriage might be the key for sustenance to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, sometimes sister, she's working and she can see the brother is trying. Then she can make a decision based on herself. Am I willing to be patient to take responsibility of certain things in the meantime, not for all the time. As soon as that person's on their feet, again, you will know, is it worth taking that risk in that situation and who the brother is. It's not a general thing. You can't have that, don't worry, anyone who comes to me, I'm going to allow them to know. The asl, you have to look at the circumstance. Because I know good brothers, they're working, and we spoke about in Kitab al-Tawheed class. This is the reality of the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. You'll be tested with things. A person's working today, the company goes redundant. That's not their fault. They were an employee, they've lost their job just instantly like this. Yesterday they were making money. The thing is, Allah is never going to place you in a hardship that's going to break you. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul beyond this capacity. The issue is, as Allah mentions, أنا عند الظن عبدي بي. I am as my servant thinks of me. So the way you think of Allah is how you'll find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the priority in seeking marriage, if you're not there yet religiously, get there. Because if you want the best marriage, it comes with Islam first. That is the priority. There is no way you can have the best marriage based on finance. You'll see sometimes the happiest people on the face of the earth are the poorest of them. Things that you enjoy that make you happy but does not give you happiness. And that's why I say, when you see things that are loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what makes you love an individual. So the more you see them doing things that Allah loves, the more you're going to love them. They can be the richest person on the face of the earth, but as soon as you see things that are hated by Allah, you can't even stand that person. You can't stand them. So making finance about, some people, they say they're engaged for 13 years. Why? Because the brother needs to get a job. Allah musta'an. Then why are you trapping him then? Because someone else will say, don't worry about it, we'll work it out. But you've trapped this person for 13 years. Or your wali's trapped them for 13 years. By the time they're married, they're old. Because why? Had to get a job. Look at the situation we have now. This living circumstance we have now is crazy. And this is the thing. Some people say teamwork makes the dream work, these fancy quotes, but they don't mean it. It's partial. Or some people are so fixated on my rights. It's about me, my rights. But there's times that the husband lets go of his rights and then she lets go of her rights for the greater purpose for the marriage. Not that, as I said, you have to be close to the one who just sits back and relax, always goes to the cafe all day long, does nothing, doesn't look for a job, goes to the masjid, I'm in the masjid with the brothers. But what are you doing there? You're not doing Quran, you're not seeking knowledge, you're not doing anything, you're just chilling. We have responsibilities, you can't just chill. If someone's like that, then yes, the finance becomes a barrier. That's someone you don't look for when it comes to marriage. But someone who's trying, but just hasn't been successful, the door is going to be open for them, inshallah. That is the reality. Is it permissible to marry someone your parents disapprove of if there's no valid reason for them to disapprove? If it's regarding the wali, approving or not, then you can't get married without the wali. I think there's like a meeting going on here. MashaAllah. We have to bring the children to the masjid.
What types of mistakes can you overlook when choosing a spouse, and how to differentiate between minor mistakes and red flags?
So what kind of mistakes can you overlook? When you have mistakes, that are genuine mistakes, where it's not seen to be something's going to be a pattern that's going to reoccur. Just made a mistake. The mistakes I'm talking about, something that is any sort of mistake that is not from the things that are haram. If someone's mistake is lying, hey kids, you need this information. One day you need this one. You're gonna remember, because you lot are advanced now, Mubarak. But yeah, if a person's lying, this is not a mistake to overlook. This is a red flag. Lies are not to be overlooked. Why? Because lying is a major sin. Lying is a major sin. So things like this, no. But you kind of know this is something, like for example, they were late to a meeting. Or they said they were going to get something, they forgot it. These things happen. But if someone is always late to every single meeting, then you will know for yourself, do you know what? Punctuality is important to me. Can I handle that you're always late? Then that's something that becomes a personal red flag. Because that's something that's going to really tick you off. Because no one has the same things that really annoy them. Everyone's got different things. For example, the brother comes to the meeting, he doesn't iron his thobe. You noticed it. You're about presentation. Every meeting you've had, you see he doesn't really give it concern. Because that shows an attitude. If I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to go for an interview, I'm going to make sure I'm presentable. So if I see someone comes to a marriage meeting or something, but they don't look presentable, then that might be a red flag for me. Like you don't really give things importance. So you look at how you interpret different things like this. No.
How to go about if your husband doesn't satisfy you sexually and you've tried many things?
Get counseling. Get counseling, inshallah. That's important. You have to get counseling. No, because there may be other factors that affect that one.
But what if you go counseling and it's still the same thing?
If you're not satisfied, then that is grounds for divorce. That is grounds to seek divorce. It's permissible to seek divorce because that is the objective of marriage. It's from the objectives of marriage to preserve chastity. Because this leads people to do things, waliyadu billah. So if you're not satisfied, you're allowed to seek divorce for that. Now.
On that, do you have to tell your wali the reasoning behind it?
La. You don't have to tell no one. But you may say khula. Just be prepared to give back the mahar or some of it. Now.
With the Willy, if the family members are still alive, is it okay to ask someone who is not a family member to be a Willy?
If permission is given. For example, the family, they might be brothers. Remember, let's say there's 7 brothers, but none of them is practicing. They're not supposed to be the wali. So the family might say, okay, can the Imam be the wali? No problem. Because someone who's not practicing Islam, how can he look for your best interest in Islam? It's impossible. No.
How comfortable can you be in a marriage meeting without tossing down?
I answered that one already.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, the second one was, what do you do when potential asks about your sins and you should do lying in this situation?
When it comes to an individual asking about your past sins, we have to make sure they're past sins, first and foremost. And past sins doesn't mean yesterday. Past sins means you've given it up and you're not returning back to it. And you've asked Allah to forgive you for it. Then you don't say anything. You say, I have made mistakes in life and I've sought forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I've been steadfast for X amount of time. And you're not required to give details. Yeah? That's your one. Tastes nice? No?
Don't know if you've asked these ones. What is the best way to pursue marriage with the spouse? And then,
I think I'll answer that one as well.
and the qualities of the spouse.
Yeah. Are they the ones that are on Instagram as well? So I think they've asked in the question and in the comments. 1 second. Where are the places you can go looking for a marriage or a spouse? Your local masjid. Inshallah. No.
If you could get married to please your sexual desires only.
Yeah, you can. But still marry someone who fears Allah. You can get married to safeguard yourself, your personal needs, that's no problem. That is of the objectives to save yourself from fitna, that which is haram. But still make sure you marry someone who fears Allah. That is the whole objective. What advice do you give to a husband who struggles to lower his gaze and speaking to women online? Look at your wife more. If you're married, look at your wife more. The problem is you look outside and you think your wife is not sufficient. And if you're speaking, don't speak to women online. Khalas, stop. You can have it. Wait, let me give you this one. This one's better. Here. Swap. Let me have this one. Yeah, so a man I was supposed to have a meeting with said I can wear my normal clothes in front of my mahram or wali. Example, not wearing my full jilbab. I let him go. Is this true? When it comes to what you wear in a meeting, me personally, don't. If you're going to reveal anything, reveal the parts of the body that you make wudu with. Elbow to hand. Don't show your hair. Describe it. You don't have to show it. Yes, they can ask, but you will know, is this person trustworthy? Because there's some serial meters. They meet everyone just for this objective. They have a fetish. Be careful. In the first 2 meetings, never show anything other than your face. Like if you're going to have a number of meetings, because you can't trust people. Now, you can describe it, or if they've got a female relative, you show them. Say, I'll meet your mum or your sister, and you reveal yourself to them. Again, the parts that the way you'll be comfortable to dress in front of your father. The way you'll be comfortable to dress in front of your father. That's what's allowed to be seen. Now, based on the hadith, when the person came to Prophet ﷺ and said, I want to marry so-and-so, he said, have you seen her? He said, go and look. So he looked from a tree or on top of a wall, the way she'll be dressed in front of her family. Now, other than this, don't. If a brother does not pray Jummah in the masjid, should his sister marry him? If a brother does not pray Jummah in the masjid, should his sister marry him? No. Are there any exceptions to not coming to the masjid on Friday? Traveling or sick? A sister says she will go Islamically and wears partial hijab. Also, she says she will have to attend fee siblings weddings if free mix. Yeah, then you have to make a decision. If they want to go to free mix weddings, then that's a problem. Also, if she wears partial hijab, there's no such thing as partial hijab. There's either hijab or no hijab. Hijab is covering from the head to the toe, showing the face and the hands. If you only wear a headscarf, that's a headscarf. It's not hijab. That is the reality. If you wear jeans and a headscarf, you're not wearing hijab. You're wearing a headscarf. Hijab is covering according to Islam, the Sharia. If you're not doing that, you're not wearing hijab. So yeah, is it better to marry someone who follows the same madhab, or would it make it more difficult marrying someone from a different madhab? It depends. Just don't refute each other. When it comes to following the madhab, if the objective is to follow the Quran and the Sunnah, then you won't have a problem. Because the madhab is not the objective. The madhab is a means to understanding. But if you blind follow the madhab, either one of you, then it's going to become a problem. So be cautious in that. Can a milk sibling act as a wali? Yes, if they're given permission. What actions and steps can we do to get married quickly? Make dua and be a righteous Muslim. And alhamdulillah, if the one that comes around is good for you, get married quickly, inshallah. What's the simplest way for walima? Dates and milk. No, I'm joking. Work within your means. I know people, they get married and the walima, they don't enjoy it because they're in debt for the rest of the year. You're celebrating you. You're not pleasing other people. And that's what you have to remember. Some people, they are impressionists. They only care about what other people think. So they place themselves in hardship. And that also sometimes is the means of divorce. And I know someone who spent 10,000 and their marriage didn't last a month. Perspective. Again, marriage, but money does not buy you happiness. Naam. And Allah musta'an. Sometimes people go to extravagance. What am I to see in the first online video meeting? Their face. If a sister's brother does not practice and your father is not present in your life, what do? Contact your father if you can, if they're still alive, and ask if someone else can be the wali, and go to a trustworthy local imam. What's the source that is halal to show your hair to Imam during the meetings? The one that I mentioned about when the Prophet said to go and see her. She wouldn't know that he was there. And she would show her hair in front of her parents. So that is the evidence that's used.
So you're in a meeting, you're sitting, and you can actually show your hair?
Let's say they come to your house. You can reveal part of your hair. You don't have to take off your whole hijab. You can reveal part of it. Or, as I said, what's best described, say my hair comes up to here. And my color is this way. Like this.
But what if your daughter ends up getting married and you just show somebody a
No, you're not sinful. But that's what I said, I wouldn't do it. Personally. I wouldn't do it personally. As for sisters working NHS, I'm not talking about that. That's a whole different topic. We're going to keep it on topic. What is your advice when you meet a man but he seemed interested in marrying, but you are having doubts about him, but it's hard for you to trust him? If you don't trust him, forget it. Khalas. Trust is a major thing, especially for me. If you don't trust someone, run away. So do you offer wakil services? Yes, I do, with some conditions. I have conditions. That if you want me to be your wakil, you have to allow me to treat you like you're my daughter. That's it. Khalas. Don't give out my number to no one. Don't give out my number. If someone's interested in you, you come and tell me. I will do due diligence. I'll make calls, what we're supposed to do. If you don't have someone who can do it for you. If you want that service, then alhamdulillah. If you don't, if you want the easy service, I am not the one. You go Streatham. How do you find out how a potential interacts with his family prior to marriage? Ask the family. Ask the mum. Ask the siblings. Speak to them if you need to. Say, I would like to meet your mum. I'd like to meet your sister if you got one, kind of thing. And just ask them, how is he? You see? Or go out to dinner with them and just see what he does. If a sister directly asks you for marriage online via social media, is this a red flag? No. No. It depends how they ask you. It depends on that kind of person. It's not a red flag.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
La ilaha. What are you doing, bro? Inshallah, what we can do is continue after Salah as well, because Salah's in 5 minutes, inshallah. What someone asked, when should the spouse describe, not spouse, but the potentials, describe health conditions? Straight away. What are you waiting for? Because that is a determining factor. What a person can do, if they have a health condition that they don't want to be spread, that becomes known in the king that they have it, then they may have to get them to sign a agreement of revealing, not to disclose the information. And if they do, then legal proceedings will be taken upon that person. A person can do that. But I would say, if you have a health condition that may be a factor in decision of marriage, then you should make it known from the get-go. Make it known from the get-go. And don't put in your head, but if I say it, they're not going to be interested. Allah knows best. That's the reality. From you have that mentality, then maybe that's why they're not interested, because you've already set that up for yourself. You've already set yourself up having that thought. Allah is the one who changes hearts. You never know. Allah might place in that heart that that person was looking for that. And they just ended us just like that. We'll go live again after Salah, inshallah. Maybe someone make dua because I'm late for the Jama'ah at the time. So the live was just severed, and that means it can't even save. Allah musta'an, it's gone. Alhamdulillah, qadallah ma shafa'al. But the YouTube will be there, inshallah. After Salah, we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala. Whoever wants to go, you can go, inshallah. Whoever wants to continue, we'll continue. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So if you didn't have questions, you want to think of questions, inshallah, not in the Salah, after Salah.